jury has reached a verdict for the 3 police officers involved in the death of Manuel Ellis. The jury found all officers not guilty for all charges brought against them, including first and second degree murder and first degree manslaughter. The verdict comes after several days of deliberation. Earlier this week, the foreman indicated that a single juror was responsible for holding up the verdict. Manuel Ellis was a 33-year-old resident of Tacoma, Washington, a black man who died while in police custody back in March of 2020 after a struggle that ended with Ellis pressed against the pavement on his stomach. His last words were caught on a Ring camera saying, quote, "I can't breathe." And as we speak, people are gathering outside the courthouse to protest that verdict. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz joins us now to help break this down. Liz, this is a verdict 3 years in the making. Remind us here of the facts of this case and walk us through how it ended today.
Yeah, Jake, it goes back, as you mentioned, to March of 2020. So now almost 4 years ago at this point, where 33-year-old Manuel Ellis was killed at the hands of Tacoma police during an arrest. Throughout this trial the past few months, the 3 officers and their attorneys have argued that it was Ellis who, in their words, created his own death. They said it was methamphetamine in his system and also his poor health that led to his death. And they say that he had been arrested for acting erratic, for trying to break into or bang a police car and potentially hurt the officers. Now, on the flip side, however, the Ellis family and many in the community have said that that is not what happened. There is witness video that's been shown at the trial that shows Ellis 5 times yelling out that he could not breathe. And Ellis's family and their attorneys have argued that the officers should have rendered aid. Now, at the end of the day, though, with the jury making this decision, acquitting the 3 officers on all counts, they clearly ultimately sided with the officers and their attorneys in making this decision, Jake.
And Liz, obviously the verdict has just been handed down. Have we heard any reaction from Ellis's family or the larger community at this point?
Yeah, so what we know is that this was very tense in the courtroom, and a reporter with our affiliate there in Seattle who was there in Tacoma in the courtroom said that Ellis's family at one point got up and left. They're obviously devastated, as are many in the community that were supporting Ellis, wanting justice for Ellis and justice for Ellis's family and the Black Lives Matter movement. And there's a video showing community members that had gathered outside the courtroom to watch the verdict, some of them in tears as this decision came down. There's now a protest starting in Tacoma as well. So far, it is peaceful, but people holding signs demanding justice for Manny Ellis. We did also recently, within the past few minutes, just hear from the defense attorney for the officers saying that he does understand that the family for Ellis's family is grieving tonight, but at the flip side saying that this is a huge moment of relief for those 3 officers that have been dealing with this as well for the past 3 months. But we'll continue to see 3 years, I should say, Jake. I'm sorry, but we should see how this all unfolds now tonight as this protest continues in the community, Jake.
Liz Kreutz covering the end of a tragic case for us. Liz, thank you. Now, ceasefire and hostage talks appear to be at a standstill, with the United Nations Security Council delaying a vote to stop fighting in order to get more aid into Gaza, as the situation there only gets worse. Now, just a warning, some of what you are about to see is disturbing. Today, Hamas said there will be no more negotiations until Israel stops its attacks on Gaza. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised Israel will not stop the war either until it destroys Hamas and recovers all of its hostages. The number of Gaza residents reported killed is now estimated to be 20,000, including 8,000 children and 6,000 women. Tens of thousands of people have been injured. The World Health Organization says there is not a single fully functioning hospital in all of Gaza, with only 9 of the 36 hospitals even managing basic services. In fact, WHO workers on the ground say the hospitals that are left look more like hospice centers where, quote, people are waiting to die. This is the backdrop, of course, to talks between the U.S. and Egypt as they look for any common ground at all after a UN Security Council resolution stalled, one that could have gotten aid going into Gaza. NBC's Jay Gray has more.
Good evening, and let's start on the ground. After negotiations for a ceasefire and apparently a hostage release have hit a stalemate at this point, the fighting continues intense around Gaza City this evening, where the IDF says they have taken over command and control centers run by Hamas and that they have destroyed an extensive web of tunnels underneath Gaza City, something they had been focused on for quite some time. With no pause in the fighting, no aid is getting in, no escalation of aid, and that's become a major issue on a day when we've learned that 20,000 have now died in Gaza since the war began. That's 1% of the territory's entire population killed in just 2.5 months. 70% of those who've died are women and children. And to put it in even further perspective, it's more than 260 people that are killed every day there. And that number is going to grow, not only because of bullets and bombs, but because of a lack of food and water. We talked about the aid not being able to get in as frequently as needed there. People now, according to the World Health Organization, are getting less than one meal a day and are dying of starvation as well as dehydration. All of this going on as the fighting continues and continues to move to the north as well, where a lot of people have evacuated the south looking for shelter. That's the very latest right now from Jerusalem. Now back to you.
Jay Gray for us in Jerusalem tonight. Jay, thank you. And our colleagues at Sky News were in southern Gaza when Israeli drones struck a Rafah hospital. They captured the immediate aftermath of that attack. Now, again, and I mean this, a warning that some of what you're about to see is hard to watch.
Our team was filming inside a hospital in Rafah near the Egyptian border when a series of Israeli airstrikes hit nearby. A father puts his arms around his terrified children and huddles for cover behind a car. The injured are being carried away as our team rush towards the site of the airstrikes. There are screams of desperation and the sounds of sirens as the Israeli drone circles overhead with the threat of more incoming missiles. This lady says she is searching for her son. There are women underneath here, one man shouts. The body of a dead child is found and taken away on a stretcher. Another body lay in front of a mangled car, his face covered with a sweatshirt. We don't know why the Israeli military hit this target, but people in Gaza had been told that Rafah was safe. The wounded man is told to stay calm. His eyes wince in pain as he clings to a rock for a pillow. He cannot move his legs. Later, too, he is carried away above the heads of the crowd. They keep digging frantically in the earth to find anyone they can, dead or alive. There is little by way of official help here anymore. They're alone. This is Gaza, and this is happening every single day.
Tonight, millions of people across the country are filling up airports, marking what is expected to be the busiest travel day by air this holiday season. By the end of this one day, TSA is expecting to have screened 2.5 million passengers. That's roughly the population of Chicago, and that is just a fraction of the more than 115 million travelers AAA projects will head out over the next 10 days, either by air or by land, which is likely to bring travel to levels not seen since before the pandemic. That number means long lines at some of the country's busiest airports. Still, travelers everywhere are nonetheless eager to get their holidays started.
I flew standby, which the week of holiday, is tricky to do, and I made it on the second try, so I'm feeling really lucky. Feel like Santa's real.
Well, I looked ahead at the weather, and it looks like it's going to be much more mild than it was last year, so I'm just keeping my fingers crossed.
And so far, the weather is cooperating for most of the country. A major storm on the West Coast has millions under flood alerts. NBC meteorologist Bill Cairns will have more on that in just a bit. But first, let's talk with NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra, who is at Miami International Airport. Marissa, you are at a very busy airport in Miami. I mean, how are things looking there?
Hey, so I can tell you what I'm seeing just here locally, and I can tell you what we're seeing across the country. There are some pockets of delays where we're seeing that bad weather, but compared to what we have seen historically, particularly this time last year, not so bad, Jake. I mean, at its most right now, we're seeing an average of 300 to 400 delays just at a time around the country, which again could be so much worse. But in Miami, this is one of the busiest times that I've ever seen here. In fact, my crew and I spend a lot of time at Miami International. This is actually the busiest I have personally ever seen it. This is the pre-check line behind me. Over my shoulder, you can see at one point tonight, there was a line that was wrapped around. And remember, that's pre-check. I don't even want to know what general security looked like. And that's kind of on track with what we've seen this year. This year continues to be a record-breaking year. We saw a record broken for TSA screening the most amount of passengers over the summer and then again over the Thanksgiving holiday. And we know that people are starting to get back out there, maybe finally do that travel for the holidays that they put off in the year since the pandemic. And so I've got a couple tips for you to make your travel just a little bit easier. Of course, get to the airport early. Of course, make sure that you're not bringing more liquids than you're supposed to for your carry-on, whether it's wine, eggnog, coquito, whatever you've got. But two other things that I've actually learned myself, Jake. One, if you have presents, maybe don't wrap them, because if something in there catches TSA's eye, they will not be afraid to unwrap it. So bring the wrapping paper with you. And then finally, this handy dandy app. We love an app. This is the TSA app, and this will show you what those lines are looking at. So when I told you that the line here over my shoulder was wrapped around, that was actually predicted by the TSA app at its busiest. It was showing that it was going to be at least 30 minutes. So if you check the app in advance, you can maybe save yourself some heartache later, Jake.
This is good advice. And for people at home, Marissa Parra, travels for a living. I suggest you believe what she says here. So Marissa, I mean, we saw obviously these terrible meltdowns last year. I'm thinking of Southwest Airlines, which had so many problems. I mean, are airlines, do you believe, prepared any better to deal with worst case scenarios this year?
Well, they certainly had to, not just because they got a lot of pressure to in every single way, but it was just unfeasible, right? You had thousands of cancellations, especially when you look at that period after Christmas around this time last year. I believe it was the 27th to the 29th. And so they had to do a couple of things. They had to change their staffing. They also had to upgrade their system. They had system-wide upgrades. These are technological things that were specific to Southwest. But we know airlines and airports around the country were also dealing with issues when it came to staffing. So all of them had said they made promises that they would improve their staffing. And what we can say is that at least over Thanksgiving, and certainly as of right now, seemingly for Christmas as well, they seem to have addressed the staffing issues when it comes to the airports and the airlines in particular, Jake.
Road warrior Marissa Parra, thank you so much for being there. Heavy rain is soaking parts of Southern California tonight. There have been reports of a mudslide near the Hollywood Hills today. And in Santa Barbara, heavy flooding forced people to push their cars out of high water. A flash flood warning is in effect for this area, which has seen as much as 6 inches of rain already. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns joins us now with how much more rain is expected and if it will impact travel. Bill?
Well, good evening to you, Jake. And we are watching this storm just throwing a ton of moisture into Southern California. All of the problems have really been located just to the west of Los Angeles, up around Santa Barbara. That's by far the heaviest rainfall total. Thousand Oaks, 3 inches. Santa Barbara itself, 6 inches already. And there's torrential rain over that region right now. I mean, you can just see it streaming up from the south. And some of this is going to try to make its way into Los Angeles, too, as we go throughout this evening. So the flood watches are up for 26 million, but it's only one area that we've had the flash flooding, and that's in and around Santa Barbara because of that tremendous rain. At one point, of that 6 inches, we got 1.5 inches in 1 hour alone. I mean, that's a lot of heavy rain in a short period of time, especially when you're talking about hilly, mountainous terrain. So that's why we're having all the issues around Santa Barbara. And tonight, we could see other issues similar to that. We don't think it's going to be quite as bad, but it is possible. So here's a closer view of the radar, and you can just see all this mess off the coast. When you get to the yellows and the reds, that's heavier rain. And when that gets into the mountains, it gets even worse. So that's, again, Oxnard, Oakview, Thousand Oaks, Santa Barbara. That's the area of greatest concern. And as we go throughout the night, this will all slowly on tonight and Friday will be shifting towards Arizona. Saturday, it looks like the day Arizona will have its best chance for heavier rain and flash flooding, mostly, especially the desert wash areas. Now, travel impacts. This is the biggest issue, obviously, with so many people hitting the roads and going to the airports. As we go through tonight and tomorrow, LAX and San Diego, not a ton of cancellations, but there will definitely be delays, maybe even some significant delays. And then as we head towards Sky Harbor Airport and down towards Tucson, that will be more on Saturday. We have a weak storm system coming into coastal areas of Oregon to Washington. We'll get a little bit of snow in the Cascades. It's not a ton of moisture with this one, so we just have possible delays. And if you're driving on the roads, it may just be a little slower than normal, but I think you'd be okay even going through those mountain passes. Snow levels are pretty high. So the outlook, let's go through your Christmas holiday forecast. As we go through Friday, not bad. East Coast, no problems. Light rain, St. Louis to Chicago, but no one's going to complain much when it's this warm. 53 in St. Louis. Even Chicago in the 50s this time of year is very unusual. By the time we get to Saturday, our storm system kicks into the Four Corner region. Going to get some decent snow out of this. The San Juan Mountains, some of the higher elevations of Colorado. Then on Sunday, Christmas Eve, our storm shifts into the middle of the country. It gets stronger. Heavy rain, flood threat possible right along the Texas-Louisiana border, along with Arkansas and areas around Kansas City. We'll have to watch you. Very warm and unusual Christmas Eve. But the backside of this is our best shot of having a white Christmas. Somewhere from Denver, Cheyenne, northwards to Rapid City, western portions of Nebraska, you have a chance, maybe even a couple inches. Then on Christmas Day, some lighter snow continues in this region, where just a rainy forecast, unfortunately, all through the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and through the Deep South. Dry and beautiful, very mild day for people to even head out and play with their toys in the Northeast. So the big question, Jake, everyone wants to know who has the best shot of a white Christmas. Here's the snowfall forecast over the next 5 days. And notice the blue areas, that's where you could get up to 3 inches of snow. So our friends in Denver, fingers crossed for you on Christmas Eve.
No white Christmas for me, no white Christmas for you. Bill Cairns, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. Up next, a Colorado court ruling may knock former President Trump off of the 2024 presidential ballot. Now, could this state, California, do the same? Plus, After facing backlash for her comments on anti-Semitism, Harvard's president is now dealing with allegations of plagiarism. We have those details. And later, something as simple as a cord from window blinds has proven to be deadly for kids for decades. So why haven't significant steps been taken to keep those kids safe? That is all just ahead. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we are watching tonight. Former Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani filed for bankruptcy today after being ordered to pay nearly $150 million to two 2020 election workers that he defamed. A spokesperson for Giuliani says this bankruptcy filing will give him time to appeal that court ruling. And if you were trying to use X earlier today, you might have had some trouble. The social media platform is now back and up running after a global outage. In the U.S. alone, 77,000 users were dealing with issues. The cause of that outage is still not known. Honda and Acura drivers have a listen here. More than 2.5 million vehicles are being recalled in the U.S. because of a fuel pump issue that can cause engine failure. It could also even cause it to stall while driving. It's a long list of models affected, so you should look up to your car and see if it's part of that recall on Honda or Acura's recall lookup platforms. And this Christmas, Illinois is revealing its 2023 license plate naughty list. I love this so much. The state says more than 300 personalized requests were deemed too obscene to be put on a plate. You can listen to some of them for yourselves.
Some of the rejected license plates submitted for approval this year included eat butt, boner, milfs, whoop ass, D's nuts, poopsie, and Iowa sucks. Clever is too generous a word, but they did make me laugh.
Oh, with the flags in the background, it's so good. Okay, and there's one icon who is always on the nice list for Christmas, Mariah Carey. She visited President Biden at the White House today. He told her he is a big fan right before playing, you guessed it, All I Want for Christmas Is You. We're following the latest developments in the Colorado Supreme Court's disqualification of former President Donald Trump on the 2024 primary ballot. Now, according to a source with knowledge of the Trump team's planning, they intend to file an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court sometime after Christmas. The deadline for an appeal is January 4th, so the clock is ticking there. Meanwhile, you can see on this map that there is a whole host of states that have filed legal challenges against Trump's 2024 run. And in fact, we may soon be adding this state, California, to that list. In a letter, the Golden State's lieutenant governor urged the state secretary to explore every legal option to remove Trump from the ballot, writing that, quote, this is a dire matter that puts at stake the sanctity of our Constitution and our democracy. Joining us now is NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, thanks for being here. If Trump does file an appeal by January 4th, what happens then? Does he just go right back on the ballot?
He's on the ballot now, and the January 4th deadline is really not that much of a deadline, and here's why. The court says that the order disqualifying Trump is essentially stayed. That means it's paused. That means it doesn't go into effect until January 4th, at which time the stay expires unless Donald Trump files an appeal. It's a certainty that Donald Trump is going to file an appeal. So if he does, then the stay continues until the court receives notice or an order from some other court, that being most likely ultimately the Supreme Court. So the January 4th deadline is significant, but Trump is going to appeal. We all know he's going to appeal. And in that event, the stay will continue. And that means that Trump remains on the ballot.
And so, Danny, give us your view on other states thinking about this sort of thing, right? Colorado is the first where he is officially disqualified, at least for now. What about other states? You know, obviously we live in a state, the United States, right? Every state law is a little bit different. What's your read on other places where that outcome might also be likely?
At this point, I'm just playing the numbers. And let's take a look at the numbers. Yes, Colorado's Supreme Court decision was groundbreaking, but there were at least 3 other jurisdictions that considered and rejected the idea of removing Donald Trump from the ballot, including Michigan, Minnesota. So other states so far, the majority appear to have gone against removing Trump from the ballot. And then you look at all the different legal issues in the Supreme Court's opinion. And again, I'm talking about the Colorado Supreme Court. And they list them in bullet point form right in the beginning of their opinion. And you can really argue, and thinking like an appellate lawyer, if I'm looking for issues, they basically handed a list of all the different legal issues that can be appealed. And I would argue that almost every one of those issues, if any one of them goes the other way, then Trump is back on the ballot. So, for example, look at the Colorado District Court, the lower court. It concluded that, yes, Trump committed insurrection. However, the second conclusion was that he's not an officer within the meaning of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. So, therefore, even though he committed insurrection, he's not disqualified. Those are just two legal issues, and the Trump defense raised a bunch of them. Any one of those, the Supreme Court can hang its hat on, and it seems that if they do, Trump would be back on the ballot. Another example is whether this is even what we call justiciable. That means, can the courts even hear this issue, or is it firmly committed to another branch like Congress? And if that's the case, if the courts can't even hear it in the first place, then Trump is back on the ballot. So just playing the odds, not advocating one side or the other. There are so many legal issues here. Any one of them, if they go Trump's way, he's back on the ballot. So if you're a betting person, just playing the odds and the history so far of this issue, pretty good chance the Supreme Court might overturn this Colorado Supreme Court opinion.
And yet still, day by day, I feel like we are in uncharted territory in courtroom after courtroom. NBC's Danny Savalos, thank you so much. Harvard's President Claudine Gay under a microscope once again after the university found more instances of possible plagiarism in her work. NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett has more.
Tonight, Harvard President Claudine Gay back in the hot seat over more allegations of plagiarism. First reported by the student newspaper, the Harvard Crimson, the leader will request 3 corrections to her PhD dissertation from 1997, less than a week after the university announced Gay submitted 4 corrections to other articles she'd published, due to a review by Harvard's governing body. In a statement to multiple news outlets, Harvard says the university reviewed more of Gay's academic work, and that the president plans to update her dissertation to correct instances of, quote, inadequate citation, stopping short of calling it plagiarism.
It makes my blood boil. I have never heard of a situation where you're supposed to go back and make corrections.
Dr. Carol Swain, a former political science professor at Vanderbilt University. The original Crimson investigation found 2 passages in Gay's writing similar to hers. She says they were plagiarized by Gay.
Anyone caught in the situation that she's in should immediately be dismissed, or they should resign. And I'm kind of miffed with her, because she's been caught red-handed.
Given that this is appearing to be a repeated offense on her end, I mean, are you concerned, or how does it make you feel that Harvard is calling it inadequate citation?
Well, I think it's elitism. They're going to redefine plagiarism to protect one of their own. Something about their elitism, that they don't believe that they have to meet the same standards as everyone else.
Gay has not responded to NBC News' request for comment, but she previously told the Boston Globe, "I stand by the integrity of my scholarship. Throughout my career, I have worked to ensure my scholarship adheres to the highest academic standards." This development prompting a House committee to widen an existing probe of Harvard over anti-Semitism after Gay seemed to dodge a question over whether students calling for the genocide of Jews should be punished.
I have sought to confront hate while preserving free expression. This is difficult work, and I know that I have not always gotten it right.
That probe will now include an investigation into allegations of plagiarism. The Education and Workforce Committee chairwoman, Representative Virginia Fox, sent a letter to Harvard demanding more information about the unequal application of Harvard's honor code, adding an allegation of plagiarism by a top school official at any university would be reason for concern, but Harvard is not just any university. It styles itself as one of the top educational institutions in the country.
Coming up, drastic and expensive new measures by the Texas governor to move migrants out of his state. Those details are straight ahead. But first, really, you got to see this. Do you remember this classic daytime TV gold?
When it comes to 1-year-old Ashlyn, Jeremy, you are not.
Well, the great Maury Povich took his skills to the Denver Zoo to figure out the real father of a baby orangutan.
When it comes to the orangutan, 4-month-old Siska, Barani, you are the father.
Congratulations, Barani. You're a dad. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we are following. A former assistant to Vin Diesel has accused him of sexually assaulting her in 2010, according to a lawsuit filed against the action star today. In the complaint obtained by NBC News, she accuses Diesel of sexual battery, a hostile work environment, wrongful termination, and retaliation. The assistant was allegedly hired by Diesel in 2010 to work on the 5th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise. Vin Diesel has not responded to NBC News' request for comment on the allegations. A federal judge blocked a law in California that would have banned carrying firearms in most public places, saying the law violates Second Amendment rights. The ban was set to apply to gun owners even if they had a permit to carry a concealed weapon. The law would have kicked in on January 1st. And speaking of bans, students in Utah probably are not going to like this next one. The state's government says he supports banning smartphones from all K-12 classrooms. Governor Spencer Cox says there is overwhelming evidence that smartphones contribute to learning loss in students. Cox has also widely supported legislation that would protect kids from social media. Now, cords from blinds, curtains, and shades are dangerous to young children, and they're really not just dangerous, they are deadly. An NBC News investigation finds that more than 400 children ages 8 and under have been strangled to death on window covering cords in the last 50 years. And officials and manufacturers have known about this danger. Vicki Wen has more on the story.
Bright and loving 4-year-old Presley was the link between Carolyn and Jeremy Eastburn's blended family.
She was a princess with a lightsaber.
One night, 7 years ago, Carolyn went to get Presley so she could say goodnight to her dad, who was on a work trip.
At first, I saw what looked like her peeking out the window. And then I realized, oh, she's putting the cord on her chin. And I realized it had gone all the way down. I saw my daughter, but it wasn't her. All the life had been sucked out of her.
Jeremy heard her screams and called 911. Paramedics tried to revive Presley, but after 5 days in the hospital, doctors couldn't save her.
She was brain dead, and we sat our family and our friends down, and we broke the news to them that our little girl was no more.
An NBC News analysis found in the last 50 years, at least 440 children have been strangled to death by window covering cords. Back in 1981, the Consumer Product Safety Commission published a report about accidental strangulations and identified the cords as a particularly insidious hazard.
A child can actually suffer irreversible damage or death very quickly. Within 15 seconds, they could lose consciousness, and then within a few minutes, they can even die.
In 2014, after at least 379 children were killed, the agency voted to create mandatory safety standards for window coverings. A rule focused on stock blinds and curtains sold off the shelf went into effect last year. But the CPSC's latest attempt to regulate custom products was recently rejected in court.
We know the product kills children. It's within the power of the retailers, of the manufacturers, to change it. They can fix it tomorrow.
The window covering industry says that manufacturers have complied with voluntary standards that have greatly reduced the risk of cord strangulation.
It becomes a silent killer because parents may be in another room and don't even know their child is strangling.
CPSC Chair Alex Hohen-Sarek says these deaths are preventable.
We talked to parents who lost their daughter, and they said this is a problem that could be fixed today. Why hasn't it been fixed?
We are working to try and get mandatory standards out there. But you're right, it's been a problem that's been going on for far too long. And that is partially because the limitations of our authority as an agency require us to go through a lot of steps to be able to get a safety standard in place.
For now, the CPSC advises people to buy cordless window treatments. If that's not possible, keep cords up high, away from cribs and out of the reach of any children.
This is our fairy garden.
The Eastburns planted this garden in Presley's memory.
I had 4.5 of the most beautiful years with my daughter. We experienced joy that we didn't know was there.
They hope her story will save lives. Vicki Wen, NBC News, League City, Texas.
Fresh off of signing his new law that allows police to arrest migrants, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is escalating his fight over the southern border even further. For the first time, he chartered a plane to fly migrants to Chicago this week. According to his office, the flight from El Paso carried about 100 people. And in a statement on social media, Abbott wrote that Texas was expanding their operation to include flights to Chicago because, quote, sanctuary city Chicago started obstructing and targeting our busing mission. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Gadi Venegas in Eagle Pass, Texas. Gadi, the governor said there that Chicago obstructed and targeted a busing mission. I'm sorry, what is he talking about?
Jake, the city of Chicago imposed restrictions on the buses that were arriving and dropping off the migrants in the city of Chicago. And that's why Governor Greg Abbott has now used the resources that the state has through the Operation Lone Star to charter this plane. So we know that one plane landed in Chicago yesterday. And at the same time, the governor informed that they will now be chartering planes. So we expect more to perhaps be used to send migrants to Chicago. Here's the mayor of Chicago speaking after they had decided to impose these restrictions on the buses.
The city of Chicago, the city of Denver, the city of New York, and all these other cities in which this raggedy governor in Texas is shipping people across the world, and particularly throughout the country. Until we get a handle on that, we're going to constantly be placed in a position where we're going to have to come up with innovative approaches to address this migrant crisis.
Now, after that plane landed in Chicago, we were informed by a city spokesperson that they are working, or they were working last night, to find a shelter for these migrants to go stay in. But we now have to think about the governor in Texas chartering planes. You can imagine how that might increase the cost. You cannot compare the cost of sending groups on buses versus what the state would have to spend now if they continue using chartered flights, Jake.
Now, Gadi, putting aside the fighting between the governor and mayors here, I mean, more than 12,000 migrants have now crossed the border. That's a new daily record. Tell us a little bit about that. What is behind that surge?
So, Jake, DHS officials told NBC News that this week, on Monday, a new record was established of daily apprehensions. That was 12,000. But we now know that the following day and the following day, so Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, all days saw more than 12,000 apprehensions at the southern border. So it's been 3 days so far with thousands arriving here, record numbers. And you can see a lot of the people in the field behind me. I mean, this field at one point when we first arrived had more than 2,000 people waiting there. Then the next day we saw hundreds arrive, as hundreds are being processed by border Customs and Border Protection, and more are in Mexico. So we're seeing people travel through Mexico. The images have been coming in for weeks, large caravans making their way through the country, coming to the border, and we're now seeing these surges. What you see here in Eagle Pass is something that reflects what's happening in Arizona and also in parts of California and Tacoma, where they also have large groups with Customs and Border Protection trying to process them as fast as possible, but they just don't have enough resources, Jake.
And what, I mean, you have been on the ground there, speaking with people, seeing their conditions. Tell us a little bit about what it is like for them to have to sleep in that field behind you, the sort of crisis there. And temperatures in Chicago next week are going to begin dipping into the 30s. Are people that you are meeting there prepared for something like that if they were to wind up on a plane like the one you've described?
Jake, that's correct. You think of cities like Chicago and New York that are entering the winter with the temperatures they have and migrants going to shelters. So, of course, they're going to have to face some challenges with the migrants that are in those shelters. But look at the field behind me. I'm going to move out of the way for a little bit. It's a little dark, but you can see that a lot of the migrants here are sleeping there, and many will have to spend the night. The temperature here has dropped in the last 3 days to about 50 degrees, but with the wind, it gets pretty chilly. A lot of these migrants are also crossing the river at night, so when they arrive, they are wet. We see some of their clothes hanging on the mesh. This is a mesh that was put up by authorities here. A lot of those clothes, we presume, are wet. They sometimes have backpacks, so we think they change it to dry clothes, or some of them could be wearing clothing that is wet. Now, what we've also seen these last few days, Jake, is a lot of these migrants at some point require medical attention. So we've seen crews. These are first responding crews that are standing by by, run into the crowd and help migrants. We saw 5 of them carried out on stretchers yesterday. Today, we spoke to the assistant chief for the fire department, who told us that the local hospital has been treating a lot of these migrants. They say, or he told us, that they've seen about 80 migrants, as many as 80 migrants require medical attention just in this field. And of those, he said that yesterday, about 10 of them had to go to the hospital and required emergency care. Now, the reason why that's a challenge here is because that's the same hospital that treats patients in the area. So now you have a small hospital here in Eagle Pass that has to treat the patients they normally treat, plus the surplus of migrants. And that's why these local communities are scared, because their resources are spread thin. So meanwhile, you have more migrants that are arriving, many of which will require medical attention, because another thing we have to keep in mind, Jake, is that they've been traveling through Mexico. Many are dehydrated. They've been sleeping under these cold temperatures. They cross the river, and then they end up in this field. So they do require medical attention throughout the day, a lot of them. So this is a situation that's only here in Eagle Pass what we're witnessing. Again, they have surges like this at the border in Arizona and in parts of California, Jake.
NBC's Guad Venegas with the desperate situation at the southern border and the growing political fight over it. Guad, thank you so much. Now to a year-long NBC News investigation that found HCA hospitals across the country sometimes cutting corners at the expense of patient health. That's according to dozens of doctors, nurses, and administrators we spoke to. Our reporting also shows that HCA hospitals, which is the hospital staffer in charge of watching the screens showing your heart rhythms, your vital numbers, could be doing so for almost 80 patients at one time. NBC's Cynthia McFadden has more.
Hospital heart monitors can be a critical tool in keeping patients alive. But when not monitored properly, they can lead to tragedy.
I lost my best friend. I'm not a couple anymore. I'm just me.
Cindy Downs raised 3 children with her husband of 49 years, Terry, a Boeing engineer who helped design the stealth bomber. The day he ended up in the hospital, he'd played 18 holes of golf.
He said, I had the best golf game of my life.
Last year, the vibrant 68-year-old was admitted to Wesley Medical Center in Wichita, Kansas, owned by HCA. A bump on the head a few days prior had led to bleeding in his brain. Doctors operated and quickly fixed the problem. Terry Downs was on a telemetry monitor while in the hospital. After 21 days, he was scheduled for discharge.
I had a wonderful afternoon visiting with him, and he got a little spunky and was teasing me, and I said, oh, my husband's back.
According to his medical record, early the next morning at 4:18 a.m., he had a strong pulse. But over the next half hour, he had a life-threatening change to his heart rhythm. His medical record indicates the nurses caring for him were not alerted, as they should have been, by the telemetry technician. In fact, there was no telemetry record in his chart for the day he died, which experts say is highly unusual. However, HCA declined to explain why to either Terry Downs' family or to NBC News.
That kind of leaves me speechless, honestly.
It does make you think maybe someone's trying to hide something.
It does, absolutely.
Carrie Wilson's an experienced cardiac nurse in North Carolina, among 24 HCA healthcare professionals who've raised concerns to us. Do you believe that any patients have lost their lives as a result of bad telemetry practices?
Most certainly, and we've even reported some of those to the hospital and to our state agencies.
Do you have a number?
I don't have a number, but I had more than one, and one's too many.
Wilson says once HCA took over in 2019, telemetry monitoring at Mission Hospital changed for the worse. Telemetry techs used to monitor about 20 patients at a time, and now
they can monitor up to 60 patients for one tech.
Can somebody do that effectively and safely?
No, not at all. We see it all the time where things are missed.
In the past, at most hospitals, telemetry monitors were located on patient floors, but that's changing. Terry Downs was being monitored from a different building, and some experts say since seconds matter, that can slow the process in critical ways. Adding to patient risk, there are no federal or state standards dictating how many patients can be safely monitored by a single technician or where they need to be located. While HCA is not alone in increasing the number of patients monitored by one technician or utilizing remote monitoring, one former HCA executive described an epidemic of telemetry mishaps at some HCA hospitals. Part of the problem, HCA nurses are often overextended. On Florida's West Coast, where there are 16 HCA hospitals, NBC News found there have been 11 telemetry-related deaths cited by regulators since 2021. While at 13 comparable hospitals at the same region over the same time period, there was only one telemetry-related death. Public records reveal at one HCA hospital some patients on telemetry monitors were not being observed at all, and alarms were turned off or silenced. Is there any good medical reason to centralize the review of these telemetry monitors?
Absolutely not. In fact, there's a lot of medical reason not to.
But there is a good financial reason to do it.
Oh, most certainly. Technology should be there to enhance what we're doing, to improve, not to replace us. And that is what HCA has done. And it's not safe.
HCA's CEO Sam Hazen declined an interview request, but the company did provide a statement. Telemetry saves lives, and that is why we use it. Our telemetry technicians monitor on average fewer than 40 patients, a number that is in line with what the American Heart Association has determined is safe. The American Heart Association told us they have made no such determination. Back in Wichita, Cindy Downs has a question for the company's CEO.
Mr. Hazen, what if this was your wife? A hospital is supposed to care about patients. It's not about profit.
Our thanks to Cynthia McFadden for that extraordinary report. Still to come, a deadly shooting at a university in the Czech Republic. It is now that country's worst mass shooting in history. Those details are just ahead. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. At least 14 people were killed during a mass shooting at Charles University in Prague today.
When I arrived here, the guys from the special forces told me that the attack is happening in the faculty, which was for me even more stressful because my daughter was over there.
Police say the shooter was a 24-year-old student at the school and was, quote, inspired by a similar terrible event abroad. Officials also now say before he reached the university, he first killed his father at their family home. Police say evidence indicates that the shooter eventually killed himself. Some striking numbers coming out of Ukraine today. Officials there say in 22 months, Russia has launched 7,400 missiles and 3,700 attack drones at targets in Ukraine. Ukraine's military says they've been able to somewhat fend off this aggressive bombardment thanks in part to Patriot air defense systems supplied by the West. Ukraine says it also uses vehicles with mounted machine guns to shoot down drones. North Korea's President Kim Jong-un is threatening the use of nuclear weapons again, saying he will not hesitate if provoked. This saber-rattling apparently came after Kim Jong-un congratulated soldiers for another intercontinental ballistic missile test earlier this week. Despite that tough talk, many foreign policy experts say North Korea probably will not use nuclear weapons first, as they say it would likely mean the end of its government. And those stunning aerials of the volcanic eruption in Iceland come at a cost. A number of people on TikTok are reporting that their drones have melted while attempting to snap these amazing overhead shots. Iceland's government says the volcano, quote, does not present a threat to life at this moment, but it does appear there have been disruptions to certain unmanned flights. Now, before we go, it is time for the future of everything. And tonight, we're talking about the future of solar power and new ways that you can harness the power of the sun. We'll explain how anything from marshes to canals can be used to produce this sort of power when we return. Stay close. Tonight in the Future of Everything, we have some very cool news. The U.S. has already added a record amount of solar power this year. And here's where the news gets even better. It has also recently agreed to add even more. That would triple renewable energy by the year 2030. But the ways to generate solar power are also becoming more creative. NBC national climate reporter Chase Kane shows us the latest in solar solutions from coast to coast.
It's a new purpose for unused land. Solar panels tucked alongside roads near Orlando, even floating on a pond.
The dream would be just imagine an entire highway system powered by the sun.
Michelle Mikish oversees Central Florida Expressways and was inspired by a trip to the Ray, project I reported on in 2021. It's one of the nation's first successful solar highways.
So that just kind of stepped us off into an adventure, really, I would say, because we're in a time that we have to look at things differently.
And the trend is expanding nationwide. At least 17 states have built or are planning solar projects on public land because it reduces maintenance costs, produces green electricity, even provides habitat for pollinators like bees and butterflies. A University of Texas study projects 52,000 acres of unused land along America's highways could generate enough solar power for more than 3 million homes. That's the kind of potential California sees with its own pilot project, using solar panels to cover water canals.
You know, the opportunity to have so many multiple benefits in a project is what is so exciting about this. Renewable energy generation, saving open space, protecting wildlife, and saving water. So these farmers will have it.
Research from the University of California, Merced projects that along with generating up to 13 gigawatts of clean power, covering canals with solar across California could prevent 63 billion gallons of water from evaporating each year.
To put that in perspective, that's enough to irrigate 50,000 acres of farmland or to meet the residential water needs of 2 million people.
Because the state of California paid $20 million for this project, they are quite literally invested in the outcome. And if things go as expected on the roughly mile of canals here in Turlock, you can expect California to start covering a lot more of their 4,000 miles of canals with solar panels, and it probably won't even stop there.
There's now global interest in this project. And in Arizona, the Gila River Indian community is breaking ground on its own solar canal project with money from the Inflation Reduction Act.
I believe that there need to be a lot of solutions, but this has the potential to create a whole new sector in the renewable energy field. What we will be building here, we believe, will be an iconic symbol of both sustainability and innovation and the state's commitment to both.
In California, I'm National Climate Reporter Chase Kane.
And don't miss the Today Climate Special, Our Planet's Future, hosted by Al Roker. That premieres tomorrow night at 10:30 Eastern on NBC News Now. That does it for us tonight. I'm Jake Ward. We will see you tomorrow, but until then, please stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.